As you can see, I'm still moving houses, and as you can see, I'm depending on natural light. I don't want to use these artificial lights anymore. Like I said, they make me look like Oompa Loompas, and I'd rather be Willy Wonka and not an Oompa Loompa. Or I wouldn't mind being Augustus Gloop. Or I wouldn't mind being Charlie himself, or Augustus Gloop. Even though he got kicked off of the Charlie Chocolate Factory tour very early because of his gluttony, I still think justice needs to be served for Augustus Gloop. Justice for Augustus. Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're all well. I just did a video about chocolate bars and actors and actresses, which is quite ridiculous. I wasn't meaning to do that, but I just kind of went into a rant and started talking about things that I'm very passionate about. Pop culture and chocolate. Yes. What I initially want to talk to you guys about was a book that I just recently read, which is a classic, and I'm quite excited to talk to you guys about it because I thoroughly enjoyed it. 1984 by George Orwell and published by Penguin Publishing. So this is definitely one of those classic books that most people have read. I never had the chance to read it for some reason. It slipped through the cracks. I never got into it in high school. I never had it as reading curriculum in my university degree. I didn't even know what it was about, except that it's something to do with being watched. Obviously, the title has always interested me because 1984 is the year I was born, so I was like, why would you call a book a year? I never really got that. A couple of months ago though, I read about how sales for this particular novel had skyrocketed ever since Trump had become president, or he was running for president or whatever. And so I was interested to know why people were reading this book during this time. So I decided to buy myself a copy and see what the fuss was all about. So I can tell you for a fact that I definitely was not disappointed. This book is popular and has been popular for a long time for a very specific reason. This is a dystopian novel. Dystopian is the opposite of utopian, by the way, in case you didn't know. Utopian is basically a utopian society which is peaceful and in harmony. Dystopian is the opposite of that, which is a negative society and world. So the story is set in 1984 in Airstrip 1, which was formerly known as Great Britain, which is a part of the superstate Oceania, which has been in a perpetual state of war for years and years and years, with an enemy that continuously changes based on who the government wants you to think you're fighting. Everyone who lives in Airstrip 1 are under this constant surveillance by the omniscient government that seem to be everywhere. There are monitors everywhere, you're being watched by everyone at all times. People always believe in conspiracy theories, people always believe that something is happening and they're being watched, and I think especially today in the age of social media where everything is recorded online and everything is being watched. This novel has so many elements and themes that relate to the human condition living within a very structured society. So the story begins with our main character, Winston Smith, who lives in this very structured world, and he's just basically another cog in this great machine of keeping people believing in this one omniscient leader, Big Brother. So Winston Smith works in the Ministry of Truth, which is also known as Mini Truth, where he works as an editor. So I found his job incredibly interesting. His role basically is to take old pieces of news and stories and articles and information and to alter and change that, sometimes even deleting people to fit in with whatever narrative this Big Brother wants the people to believe. So he's literally destroying the truth. He's destroying facts. And all these articles and stories and images that come to him, he alters and changes them, takes the truth in them and puts them in something called a memory hole where they basically just burn into non-existence. Winston knows that he's constantly being watched, and sometimes when information comes to him through his job and he realizes that it's a part of a bigger story, he's very thoughtful and very careful not to be seen by his colleagues as to having a reaction or to be having any kind of thought that goes against what he's trying to do. The story all begins for Winston when he decides to do something very simple and very human, which is write in a notebook. Writing your thoughts down is considered to be an illegal act and against Big Brother. So he starts to write these thoughts down, and when he first starts doing it, it's such a good scene. It just really shows what a great author and writer George Orwell is, because Winston is writing his thoughts, but he's also incredibly paranoid, even though he's by himself in his room. And there's a camera in his room, but he's seated himself in a position so nobody can see him. But despite that, you can sense the fact that he's very paranoid, very anxious, and even choosing very carefully what he writes. It's as though he's forcing himself to lie to himself in case he gives himself away. It's so interesting and such a great mind game, and it's pretty scary actually. So after he writes in this notebook, he starts to investigate why his society is built like this. He keeps thinking of his parents who he can't remember and his little sister, and he keeps finding humane things and objects that existed a long time ago before these wars, and he starts to question how much of himself has been conditioned to this world. How human is he after being brainwashed by the society that he's grown up in? I'm not going to give too much away from the plot, so I'm going to stop there, but this is definitely a book that you guys all have to read if you haven't read it already. It has so many great themes and ideas and stories, and really makes you think about the human condition and human consciousness and identity and psychology as well. And to think this book was written in 1949 and the ideas and the story is still relevant today just goes to show what a great author George Orwell is and how progressive he was in his thinking. And while I was reading this book as well, I realized there are so many movies and TV shows and other books and comics and graphic novels that have been directly influences, particularly by George Orwell's 1984. It's like, how do I explain this? When I come across a book like this, which has influenced so many other forms of literature and entertainment, but still maintains its own unique and individual and innovative fingerprint, I'm always quite astonished by what a talented author and what a great story this is, because usually when a story has influenced other stories and you go back to read the original, you don't think of it as good as what it influenced in the future. So this really stands the test of time for me, and I highly suggest that you guys read it. There are two other things that George Orwell does in this book which he does brilliantly. First of all, the sense of paranoia and acting like you're paranoid or not acting like you're paranoid is done so well, and we never trust anyone in this book. We never know who to trust, which I think is a very difficult thing to do, to keep the reader continuously suspicious and on the edge of his seat is very hard to do. The second thing that George Orwell does that is really unique is his use of language. So in the world of Oceania or Earthstrip 1, society is trying to dumb down people by making them illiterate and by making them use a different form of language that is based on acronyms or shortening of words. So something called dumb speak. It's a way to control the masses by changing how we speak. Instead of saying the full word, saying half of it or saying part of it. It's just a way to give people less words to use in order to express themselves, which will help you control them. I'm a huge believer that language informs culture, and I believe that language and how we use language can elevate us as a society, or it can bring us down. If you think about how we speak today or how we use language on the internet, we're always shortening everything, aren't we? So like there's LOL, ruffle, ROFL, roll on the floor, laughing. There are so many words that we use these days to make things easier and quicker, but they're also, I think, making us a lot dumber. I mean, I use these acronyms, I'm not judging because I use them, but sometimes I do think that even though they are spot on to describe a specific feeling, they can also dumb language down. Anyway guys, have you read this book? What do you think? Let me know your thoughts on it. If you disagree with me or if you agree with me, I think it's such a good book to read. Please read it and talk to me about it. If you have any comments about this video or about this book or about me and my glasses, please leave a comment below on this video, or you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter under the name maan.jalal or maan_jalal, or you can reach me on my website, manofthehour.com, or if you like this video, please share it to all your followers so they can follow me and I can follow them, or like and subscribe this video and this channel. It will make my day. By the way, I'm Maan Jalal if you don't know me or if you just come across this video. I am a writer and I'm a journalist based in Dubai. I read a lot. I like to eat chocolate. I like to talk to people. I like to make these videos where I talk about reading and writing and art and literature and interview people, and sometimes I talk about ridiculous things like chocolate bars. Let me know what you guys think. Ciao! See ya!